Alright everybody, how we doing today? So here we go with a 2-article story, since the articles are both really short. They're only like 2-minute reads. And they're from Reuters, and it says, shootings in North Mexico town kill 20, pile pressure on president. Clashes sparked by a suspected cartel gunman in northern Mexico town killed 20 people in this weekend, authorities said, putting more pressure on Mexico's president to curb gang violence after the United States vowed to label the gangs terrorists. President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, mindful of efforts by U.S. President Donald Trump to designate Mexican drug gangs as terrorist groups, repeated on Sunday that he would not accept any intervention from abroad while doubling down on his strategy of trying to contain the cartels. But the killings clouded celebrations marking Lopez Obrador's first year in office, which was buffeted by a march in Mexico City by thousands of people protesting the violence. The governor of the northern state of Coahuila said local security forces killed 14 gunmen on Saturday and Sunday, after a major gunfight broke out in the small town of Villa Union near the Texas border. Earlier, the state government had said police had shot dead 17 cartel members. 4 police were also killed in the shootouts, which broke out around midday on Saturday, sparking fresh criticism of the government's approach to handling the powerful gangs. The bodies of 2 unarmed civilians apparently murdered by the gunmen were also recovered by the government said. Look, if the Mexican government is resistant to any American interference, then it's probably best that we not get involved. We don't want to make a mess of things. We've had a pretty good run of it in North America, as far as our relationship with each other. Mexican government, American government, Canadian government, hell, even American, Mexican, Canadian people. With a few exceptions here or there, there's relative peace in the North American continent. If America pushes it too hard, they risk that. Somewhat. They risk it. They put that relative peace in North America at risk. Then we end up like Europe. I really don't think we want that. Do we want that? I don't think so. But riding into town in a convoy of heavily armed pickups, gunmen sprayed the offices of the mayor of Villa Union with bullets and fought police for more than 1.5 hours as gunfire echoed through the streets. More than 60 gunmen took part in the fight, and 17 of their vehicles were seized, Coahuila's government said. I'm probably saying that completely wrong. I speak English. It's very obvious. A number of the gunmen who were suspected members of the cartel of the Northeast from Tamaulipas state were killed by state police in pursuit of the raiding party after it fled the town, authorities said. The events in Villa Union add to a series of recent security lapses that have raised questions about Lopez Obrador's policy. During a speech in front of tens of thousands of supporters on his first anniversary as president, Lopez Obrador said again Mexico would handle its security problems after Trump's comments. We won't accept any kind of intervention. We're a sovereign free country, the veteran leftist said in Mexico City, Zocalo Central Square. Trump's remarks have stirred concerns in Mexico that Washington could try to take unilateral action to crush the drug cartels. U.S. Attorney General William Barr is due to visit the country next week to discuss the Cooperation on Security. Criticism at home and abroad has focused on the November 4th massacre by suspected cartel gunmen of 9 women and children of U.S.-Mexican origin from Mormon communities in northern Mexico, and the armed forces' release of a captured son of drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman under threats from his gang in the city of Culiacan. Sounds to me like Lopez Obrador overall is really not a very strong president. He seems a bit weak, maybe even a bit naive. I mean, how old is he, you wonder? He doesn't really seem like the kind of guy that really inspires confidence, if you ask me. But critics accuse Lopez Obrador of caving into the cartels, but he defended the release of a video Guzman saying it had prevented unnecessary bloodshed. Our adversaries can say we showed weakness, but nothing is more important than people's lives, he said. The protest march united opposition politicians with grieving members of the U.S.-Mexican LeBaron family who lost loved ones in the killings in the state of Sonora. We're not against the president. We're against the security policies that have been used until now because they haven't worked, said Julian LeBaron, a relative of the victims. Overnight, law enforcement agents captured several people suspected of involvement in those murders, the Attorney General's Office of Sonora said. Homicides reached record levels in Mexico last year and are on track to surpass that total this year. Lopez Obrador has also presided over a slowdown in the economy, which has stagnated in 2019. Yet while there has been some erosion of support for his most recent opinion polls show he remains popular. He does have a certain charismatic way about him, in spite of his obvious ineptitude as a leader. Now, truth be known, the drug cartels are practically the foundation of the Mexican economy. They're trying to remove an element of their nation that has been a big part of it since the very beginning. This will be a very delicate and even very painful transition for the nation of Mexico, but it's an important one that they need to make. But if they really don't want us in there, helping them out, then there's really nothing we can do. They are a sovereign state. We are not in charge of them. So if they ask or even demand that we not interfere, then that's what we're going to have to do. But at least we can talk to President Obrador and ask, hey, we would like to interfere because now this is affecting us too. This is killing our citizens. We want to do something about this. We understand it was on your soil, but these were our guys that got killed. Right? Make him see reason. The U.S. has an obligation to the situation. Although personally, I think we should just start withdrawing anyone that has U.S. citizenship out of Mexico immediately. Get them out of there. They're not safe, obviously. Just get him out of there. It's not worth it. But, again, if he doesn't want interference, there's really not much he can do. Now, going forward to the second article of this video, Iran is still selling oil despite U.S. sanctions. Dubai is where Reuters is reporting from. It says, Iran is still selling its oil despite U.S. sanctions on Tehran's exports. The country's Vice President Ishaq Jahangiri was quoted on Monday as saying by state TV, adding that Washington's maximum pressure on Tehran had failed. Despite America's pressure and its imposed sanctions on our oil exports, we will still continue to sell our oil by using other means when even friendly countries have stopped purchasing our crude fearing America's penalties, Jahangiri said. Relations between the two foes reached crisis point last year after U.S. President Donald Trump abandoned the 2015 pact between Iran and world powers under which Tehran accepted curbs to its nuclear program in return for the lifting of sanctions. Speaking at an event in Kentucky on Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the sanctions on Tehran had been effective, resulting in a decrease in Iran's wealth and diminished ability to trade with the rest of the world. The good news is, in spite of what the world told President Trump that American sanctions would not work, the world was wrong. The sanctions have been incredibly effective, Pompeo said. I know that's not what Mike Pompeo sounds like. I'm just doing that to make fun of him. A little bit. It's an innocent tease. It's a little satire. I'm just sort of making him sound like a pompous, sycophant, which is precisely what he is, as far as I know. But Washington has reimposed sanctions aimed at halting all Iranian oil exports, saying it seeks to force Iran to negotiate to reach a wider deal, but other world powers that signed on to the 2015 nuclear deal have not reinstated their own sanctions. Tehran has rejected talks unless Washington returns the nuclear deal and lifts all sanctions. I'm sorry, Mr. President, Mr. Trump, but this plan of yours just is not working. They're not going to do it. They're not going to capitulate. You are not succeeding. All you're going to do is end up provoking a war. Obama made peace with Iran and in the Middle East with that Iran nuclear deal. Everyone agreed to it. Everything was nice. Everything was fine. Then you had to decide to throw it all away. They're the complete opposite of each other. Obama's foreign policy was great, but his domestic policy was bullshit. And now we got a president whose domestic policy is great, but foreign policy is bullshit. Fix one problem, gain another. One step forward, one step back. They have failed to bring our oil exports to zero as planned, Yongari said. You damn bet we failed to bring them to zero, and we never will. Because it seems like Iran has just enough allies worldwide that they can find just about anyone to come and buy their shit. So, honestly, any attempt by us is just silly. This whole maximum pressure nonsense is completely ineffectual and totally retarded. I'm starting to see why the left finds Trump so irritating. However, you take a look at what Trump has done for our nation's economy, and it's just like, wow, the contrast. We've got a great, successful, booming Trump economy, but our foreign policy is unnecessarily provocative. What do you do with that man? I mean, seriously, oh my god. One of these days, I'm going to have to find an article about the Trump economy and put some more commentary into that. But I haven't really seen many articles that weren't the kind that literally were just kissing his ass. I need an honest article about it. There's no questioning that the economy has improved, but in order to really get into the specifics, I need a non-ass-kissing article. So, I don't know, maybe some of you good folks down in the comment section, you can send such an article to me if you know of one that exists, and send that to me. Because I would love that. Anyway, peace. Peace.